The Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, I regret to tell the member that not one single person would have got a personal income tax cut today from Labor. Not one person today. And the other point I want to make, Mr Speaker, is this one. The previous Labor government took, Mr Speaker, 3,231 days after being elected to cut taxes. This national government, just 144 days.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, why, Mr Speaker?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, why is it fair that someone on a high salary, let's use, for example, somebody on the salary at the level of a Prime Minister, gets $120 extra a week today, while someone on the medium wage with kids gets nothing?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, as I said earlier, the reality of a progressive system is that higher income earners pay a lot more tax. Now, the reality is that a very small percentage of New Zealanders pay a lot of PAYE tax. But today, the national government's been very fair in its tax cuts. The average worker getting around about $20 a week. A very fair tax system.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, is this as good as it's going to get for families and low-income earners who get nothing, given the clear signals from the Minister of Finance that the future cuts promised so sincerely in the campaign by National will now likely be scrapped?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, what is not fair is that New Zealanders had to wait 3,231 days in some of the best economic conditions the world's seen to get a tax cut. Mr Speaker, New Zealanders are doing well under a national government. 630,000 of them who got nothing for 9 years get $10 a week. New Zealanders under a national government are having their entitlements maintained. Mr Speaker, that's why this tax cut program announced today, delivered today, compared to the Labor program of nothing today, is being so well received by everybody except the Labor Party, who are so grumpy that National actually is delivering on its promises.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, what's his answer to critics, including his coalition partner Roger Douglas, that these tax cuts are a scam because he's borrowing to pay for them?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, I believe that stimulation is important for the economy when you've got a global recession going on. It's quite important. It'll help the retail sector. And, Mr Speaker, I fondly remember coming back in January of this year, hearing Phil Goff saying the government wasn't doing enough. Well, every country around the world has got some sort of tax cut program going on at the moment. So when Phil Goff wanted to argue we weren't doing enough, he was happy to shout from the rooftops, now we're cutting personal tax cuts. Mr Goff wants to take it away from them. The only message coming out today, Mr Speaker, is vote for a Labor government and you have taxes going up.
Order. The Honourable Leader,
question, Mr Speaker. Why should Mr Key's high-minded protestations about not wanting a rise in salary this year be seen by the public as anything other than double standards, when the government today has just given itself and other high-income people much higher effective wage increases by biasing tax cuts to the well-off?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, well, the tax cuts are not biased to the well-off. The next tax cuts are across the board and fair. But Mr Speaker, we know the way the Labor government feels about successful, entrepreneurial, well-off people. It was the same in government and it's the same in opposition.